reintroduce myself. So good morning, I'm Pamela Thielman. I am the Open Educational Resources Coordinator at the Center for Teaching and Learning. I also teach in the Communication Studies Department, so I've got two hats there. I see some fellow Comm Studies folks, which is nice. So what we're going to talk about today is how to use assignments that already exist on Teach OER and on Teach Hybrid. And when I say use, this is a very, what's happening is, as we know, very unprecedented. It's a big lift for a lot of us. So the idea with this session is to really look at the existing materials that are being used by other faculty here at Baruch, and then to see what can we mine from them in terms of tools, in terms of tactics, in terms of structure, so that not everybody's trying to reinvent the wheel. And I'm not sure if it's audible, but there is a small child in this house who is really only interested in the attention of the person who he's not currently with. So sounds like there's going to be a little bit of stuff in the background, but if it gets distracting, let me know and we'll see if we can't get him out on his scooter. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and share some slides with you. Again, these slides are in the chat as well. So I am going to keep an eye on that. And you will notice that really this is not my preferred method of doing this kind of session, but we're going to sort of see how it goes here. We had a very nice session last time. So you are now paused on my screen sharing. I don't know why. For heaven's sake. This is, a good reminder that there we go. A good reminder that this is just a really, this is a whole thing. So there we go. Can somebody jump in the chat and just confirm that you can see the slides now? Anyone who wants to jump in, please go ahead and just say, great, thank you. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and change the slide. And can you tell me now, are you seeing a second slide? Are you seeing the what we'll cover slide? Wonderful. Okay, we had some trouble with this yesterday. All right, so today what we're going to cover are what Teach Hybrid and Teach OER are. And I'm seeing a question, will the slides be available when this is over? They're actually, yes, they're currently available. Scroll to the top of the chat box. You will see my welcome note, and then you will see that there is a link to these slides. You can view them now and follow along, or you can just go ahead and follow along with me. So whichever you want to do. So we're going to access and look around at a couple of examples on Teach OER and on Teach Hybrid. And we're going to talk about how to adopt and adapt. And then we'll have an open Q&A at the end. So what you should see now here is our comparison of Teach Hybrid and Teach OER. Not comparison, just a little bit of a brief explanation of what they are. Teach Hybrid and Teach OER, briefly, were both created by staff at the CTL to provide resources stemming from that programming. So the folks that have been through the hybrid seminar contributed work to the Teach Hybrid site. That may be some of you. And folks that have been through some of the OER training, which is Open Educational Resources for folks who are not as familiar with that acronym, those folks contributed to the Teach OER repository. So the idea behind them was to provide a space to give some context, give some information about the programming, but also really just to focus on faculty work, what people are doing. And you'll see there's a little bit of reflective text as well. So faculty are able to say what they did and why. And that's really useful right now because you get a sense of people's choices. So to find Teach OER and Teach Hybrid, the simplest way is to go ahead and go to the Baruch Center for Teaching and Learning homepage. It's got all of our current resources. It's constantly being updated, but there are these radio buttons you'll see, or not radio buttons, so there are buttons you'll see, Teach Hybrid in the lower left, Teach OER in the upper right. You click on those, it'll take you directly to the site. If you're not sure what Baruch's CTL page is, it's a Blogs at Baruch site, so it's blogs, B-L-O-G-S, .baruch.cuny.edu/CTL. Or if you're like most of us, you may find that you just Google every time Baruch CTL, it's the first thing that'll come up. So you'll find us very easily. These buttons will be right there. So what I'm going to do now is to switch screens, and we're going to look at these sites live, starting with Teach Hybrid. So this is the Teach Hybrid site. I'm now live on the web. If you are following along from the slides that I linked to, if you click on the word Teach Hybrid on the Teach Hybrid slide, you'll see that's a live link. There's also a URL in that title line, so feel free to jump over to Teach Hybrid if you like, or you can just follow along with what I'm doing now. So I'm going to show you 3 different assignments that I think have 3 interesting and useful things about them. Then we'll jump over to Teach OER. So in order to find teaching materials, you'll see up at the top, there is this drop-down menu. You can search on Teach Hybrid by digital tool. So if you're interested in a blog, if you're interested in video content, if you're interested in type, an assignment, a syllabus, discipline, those are the 3 ways you can sort. Or if you just don't know where to start, you can just click on teaching materials and it will take you to the list, the whole list. So we're going to start by looking at a material that is from, and I'm going to jump over here because I know it's from the communication. This is Communication in Public Settings. This is Professor David Hoffman. And the reason that I want to show this is that it's an excellent example of how to organize the course site, regardless of what you're going to use, because most of us are going to have a home base now that we didn't necessarily have before. And this one is an excellent example of like a simple class-by-class explanation. So this is for communication in public settings. This is on a Blogs at Baruch page. You could accomplish this in any format. You could do it on a Blogs at Baruch page. You could do it on Blackboard. If you're familiar with Blackboard, we're encouraging people to really go with whatever platform they feel good about. You could also do what I'm about to show you in weekly or you know, twice weekly emails. So I'm going to scroll down here and look at session 4 because this is a really great example of what I mean. So this is telling students exactly what they need to accomplish in what order to follow along with the class. And organization is going to be key no matter what you do. So this is an excellent model of this. This week we'll be considering the relationship between political writing and effective deliberation. So a statement about what's happening, and then 4 simple tasks in order. So task 1 is a reading, task 2 is a video, task 3 is a blog post that students have to finish. And then task 4 is a short written assignment. So again, this is something you could do on your Blogs at Baruch page. You could do it in Blackboard folders. You could do it in an email. But this is an excellent way to sort of keep students on track with exactly what they need to do. So that's what I sort of wanted to show from this particular assignment. I'm going to jump back and we're going to look at a second. This one is from the Great Works of Literature course, and it's a really good example of a concise description of a blogging assignment. A lot of us are interested in having participation or sort of having student contribution be in blog form now, since we can't necessarily have synchronous class discussion. So this is Professor Stephanie Hirschenau's syllabus for Great Works of Literature 1, which is the first half of the Great Works of Literature course, which is a survey course of, unsurprisingly, great works of literature. And you'll pardon my hand here. I am scrolling down. And so here's short writing assignments and blog posts. So this is a good example of how to explain what a blog post should do and how you're going to assess it. And we encourage you to think about assessing particularly blog posts really simply. This has a maximum of 2 points. So it's a kind of, you did it, you kind of did it, you didn't do it, right? Simplify your life, simplify your student's life. So this describes how often, so each week in place of one session, you will have an online assignment. So it explains what role this online writing takes in the class, when it's due, with both a day and a time, and it gives a sense of how it fits into the overall grading structure, 2 points towards your final grade. And then very simply, what does a 2-point blog post look like? What was a 1.5-point blog post, 1 point and 0 point. So this is a good example. And again, this is all posted by faculty for other faculty to use. So if you see language here that you like, you are actually welcome to borrow it. We ask that you credit when possible. But the reason that this is posted on Teach Hybrid is that Professor Hirschenau is willing to share this with us. So, the broader us. So please feel free, if you see something that appeals to you here, please grab it. The final assignment from this I would like to show you is, and I'm gonna see if it's under law or communication. I think it's under law. You'll pardon me. Actually, I'll go by tool because I know it's, I don't know, here we go. Must be here. Sorry. Communication law and free speech. This is Professor Eric Gander's class. And I show this because it's a great example of online lecturing. Now, Professor Gander moved his whole class, it's a jumbo, online. We're not suggesting that you record every lecture. That is too much work. It's probably not going to make sense for 95% of the faculty who are going through this right now. But this was done on iMovie, which a lot of folks have. If you're a Mac user, this may be very simple for you if you're going to record something that you want to kind of edit a little bit. It's also easy to, now that we all have Zoom, open a Zoom meeting just for yourself, talk to the camera, record it, and make that available to students. So you have various video options. But the thing that is actually really handy about this, if you're thinking about video, is down at the bottom, you'll see view Eric Gander's reflection here. He has a very thoughtful reflection on what the video lectures are doing and how he did them and how he came to that decision to do them that way. So before you jump into planning to do video lectures for everything, take a read, I would suggest. This is a really thoughtful, useful description of a thought process to provide a bunch of online lecture. So that is Teach Hybrid. There is much more there. I will say in both Teach Hybrid and Teach OER, which we're about to look at, the slant in terms of content is more towards humanities and like social sciences, but there are a couple of more math-based things or more sciences. There's some math-based stuff on the active learning site, which I can I can certainly send your way if you're interested. And then there's some science stuff we'll look at in just a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and click over to Teach OER. If you are following along in the slides, you may want to just go to the next slide, the slide that has Teach OER as a heading. Again, you can click on the words Teach OER, which is a live link, or you can copy and paste the URL. You could also just put into your browser window teachoer.org. You don't need that www here. This will take you directly to Teach OER. Again, so there's a lot of stuff here. Teach OER has a bunch of open educational resources, which you know, I encourage you, if and when you have the bandwidth, to look at all resources. But today, and you know, this week, and maybe for the foreseeable future, we're going to focus on the teaching materials that are here from other Baruch faculty. So again, you'll see that there are teaching materials coming from the drop-down menu. I'm getting a note that my internet can chat if you have any trouble, and I'm going to forward ahead and click on teaching materials. So search through this material, but I think in this moment, perhaps the easiest thing is going to be just get everything on a page and see what looks interesting to you. I'm going to go ahead and show you, again, 3 different things that feel useful. So first one is from, again, a literature course, but it's really applicable to anything where we're talking about close reading. You may be close reading a historical document. You may be trying to get students to learn how to deal with a journal article, right? Complicated language, or you may be dealing with a literary text. So this is by Gabriel Alcon, who is a professor in, who does this course in English. So his assignment is online annotation. He uses, I will highlight it here on the screen. He uses a software called Hypothesis, which is an internet-based software, and you know, shortly there will be, I don't know that we have a date exactly yet, but shortly there will be some workshops, a webinar that will cover some digital tools, including Hypothesis. But for now, what you need to know is it's an online digital tool, and you can recreate the more or less the same thing with the Google Doc, right? Again, the point is to see how people do things and then see what you want to do with it. But basically, he has a text, uses Hypothesis to have students make group annotations. They can see each other's annotations, he can see their annotations, they can interact together over the text asynchronously, so they don't have to be there in real time. So Hypothesis is one way to do that, and you can follow up with a CTL staff member if it feels really important for you to learn this tool. But if you're somebody who knows how to use Google Docs, they can do the same thing using the comment function. If you just make your document a PDF, or you know, make it a Google Doc, students can comment and you can comment. You could also send out a single document by email to students, have them use the comment function in whatever their preferred software is, whether they have Adobe PDF readers or they can save it as a Word document and they can use the comments in Word. There are lots of ways to get at the same thing. But what's nice here is that there's a PDF, again, with instructions for how he does this. So again, this is a situation where if you're looking for language, if you're looking for models, this may be useful to you. So there is what is the actual assignment? There is some general guidance about how he sees annotation going. There is specific guidance for how he wants this annotation to be. So it's a really robust assignment. And again, and here's some questions, some guiding questions, but you'll see at the bottom here, this is meant to be shared. So if you use this language, You are welcome to just credit Professor Alcon. You can also reach out to him if you know, if you feel moved. I know we're all a little bit stretched right now, but that is another option here. So that is a good guide to annotation. And again, it does not have to be a literary course. Just any time that you want students to dig into a text, group annotation in that form may be useful. A second that I would like to look at, and I think this is a particularly flexible one across disciplines, comes to us from art history. So this is a curate your exhibition, but I think we should consider exhibition broadly. What this assignment does, and it's very simply and clearly described here, is that students pick a topic, then they select a bunch of art. Sorry, I'm letting people into the room if you're seeing me reach into the screen here. So people pick a topic and then they select art around that topic and they essentially curate an exhibition either digitally or on paper. And this is an interesting way to think of a summative assignment on any particular topic or issue in your course. So if you want to see how students are thinking about a particular topic, for example, you know, examples of rhetoric or, you know, a particular issue in social justice, you can have students pick an idea and then curate materials around that, something that is more of an exhibit of their thinking than of art particularly, but may collect digital and audio or digital images and audio and their own writing. It may also lend itself really nicely to extremely, extremely, extremely low-tech options. So students may be able to collect materials from, you know, the world around them. They can draw. I've seen examples of this assignment both with digital exhibitions and then where students literally drew a space and drew art and said this is where these things are going to be, and really created a map of the experience and the idea. So I like this concept for an assignment because it allows students to have a lot of flexibility in terms of how they you know, negotiate with you to get this work done, but it also gives you a lot of insight into the kind of thinking they're doing around particular issues. Depending how broadly or narrowly you define it, you can really get a sense of how their understanding is developing at any given time in the course. So this is why I particularly like this assignment. And then we're going to look at one more, which is our example course site. And when I open it for you, I don't want you to panic. So this is the Fundamentals of Ecology full course, and I'm actually going to go straight to the full site, which is linked here. This project was done by a professor who was Professor Stephen Gosnell, who just did, you know, extremely, you know, hard and dedicated work on this project, plus a couple of graduate student assistants. This is the entire course, Fundamentals of Ecology. So every section, which is a large multi-section course, and students are going to a lecture, a lab, and a recitation. So it's 3 parts. So all that to say, this, what you're looking at here, this website is an enormous undertaking. That's not what I'm suggesting to you right now. What I'm suggesting to you is that if you have a multi-section course that you're trying to think about coordinating, if you have different types of content, like students do have a lab or a recitation for your course, I'm suggesting that looking at this, this is an example of someone who had a lot of time and a lot of support, and this is how they decided to organize things. So he has already done the thinking, he made the mistakes, he did the consultation with a lot of people. This is a good example of what the most beautiful, fancy version of things look like. you can learn from his organizational style. You can learn from the way that he's done things. You could also conceivably pull from topics. These are beautifully curated. If you have a section, if you want to talk about community ecology, by all means, jump over here and find it. You can get examples of how people are providing lab materials online. So this last example, again, is really not like, you're going to turn out something like this. This took months, almost a year, if I remember correctly, with 2 graduate student assistants. It's got images, it's got embedded video, it's got all kinds of things. But if you want to know how somebody organized material around a lecture, so this is a good, again, a good model, a good example. So this is for the lecture for community ecology. Again, it has a little bit of explanation. This is the thing, right? This is a description of what's happening. There's some background reading, and then it provides slides. And of course, now it's going to take a moment to load these Google Slides because it's like slides within slides within slides. But there we go. So you can see how he's gone about doing his slides. And then at the end, there's some videos. So this is a model of how somebody did it with a lot of resources. But again, that may be useful to you to know, well, this is what my stripped down version of it would look like. So I am going to jump us back to the video and see if I can stop all of my sharing. All right, so let's take a moment here, and I will come back. And would it be preferable for me to take this moment and end our recording so that you may ask your questions in privacy, as it were? So go ahead, if you would like to do that, go ahead and just drop me a line in the chat. You can send it to me privately, look for my name, and see if, and I'm going to give us just a moment and see if I can get any sense of whether or not you prefer to make this a private Q&A. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording at this moment. And